We're here.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome all.
It's a special Monday.
This is what happens when your partner is into sports. So we wear sports jerseys. Anyway, it's Monday, generational change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and both the Giants and the Dolphins won. That's really good.
Yeah. This was why he
How often
allowed me to not wear
is
my
that going to happen?
uniform. Normally I have to wear my uniform.
Well, you're rocking the old school.
Yeah, this is my Dan jersey.
Dan Marino.
Yeah. This was from his second season. This was from back in the day.
You got that from 1985?
Yeah,
Really?
because I worked at Lombard Sporting Goods, and I got this, and it was one of the first ones that came out.
Oh, that's
Old school. Like it's
Oh
old.
yeah, it really is. I didn't even realize it was that old.
It's
Okay.
old school.
And it does say
No,
Marino?
it doesn't.
It doesn't
have
Marino
Marino's name on it. Nope.
Very interesting.
The thin ones did.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
we are just waiting for our guests to arrive, and probably should do a quick follow-up to make sure everybody knows. But obviously we wanted to have a conversation regarding what I perceived and Jen perceived to be a very important topic, which of course is how are we going to transition to a clean energy grid? And there are many debating interests regarding how we get there, if we're going to get off of coal and natural gas. And as it stands right now, we're nowhere near where we need to be. And I don't want to hear nothing about what China and India are doing, because I don't give a damn about them. I give a damn about this country, because we will lead the world and they will follow. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, there's definitely a big stigma about the idea of using nuclear. There's a lot of people that are very positioned on nuclear. I tend to be very open-minded about it and want to look at the science and make sure that we're not just acting out of fear, but we're acting out of reason. And I think that a lot of the talk about nuclear is more fear-based. And I'm willing to listen to it, because the reality is that we're going to be underwater, people. We're running out of time. So the idea of being able to completely transition to renewables and be able to maintain our civilization as it is right now just seems very unlikely to me. And so the idea that nuclear needs to be somehow involved in that transition makes sense. But I'm pretty open to, I'm open to science.
Yeah, I think we all need to be open to science. And what we should be very open to regarding science is the fact that our current system as it is constructed, it's not good. Like, it's really, really bad. You know, we have to be very, very realistic about, just how bad these things are, because they're bad. And, to me, regarding, coal and natural gas, and of course, when we're talking about hydraulic fracking, which is the biggest problem that we have regarding the environment, we have to be very realistic about where we're at. And so, we can't just arbitrarily say, all right, so we're just going to cut off our nose to spite our face. There have been problems, of course. When we bring Michael into the studio, he is in California, so he can obviously speak to that. Because there is sort of this energy crisis issue that's happening in California as we speak. As it stands right now, Governor Newsom is basically trying to regulate how much energy consumption one can have. And I think this relates to how you can charge your car. It's a big deal. It really is.
Just people are so scared of the concept of nuclear that they just, it's like this non-starter for so many people. It's very unfortunate.
Well, the technology has evolved. There's
a lot of countries that use it very well. And nobody really talks about it with a sense of reason. I just find people very irrational about it.
Yeah. So we're just waiting for Ryan. So let's, we'll hang for a minute and hopefully he catches our message.
So guys, if you're local, we're going to be having a meet and greet on Saturday for mayoral candidate Nick Sortel. Yeah, go ahead. We'll change.
Might as well while we're
all right. That's fine. We have to
do this little plug real quick.
So guys, if you're local, if you're in Plantation, come over and meet Nick on Saturday from 1 to 3 at the Jacaranda Italian restaurant. This is an important local election, and we say it all the time. The local elections really matter. And this is a nonpartisan race. So it's something that we don't have to have your little tribalism, and everybody can come and we can kind of come up with a plan to oust the current mayor, who I think is less than ideal. Let's just say that. I'm going to be very generous.
Yeah, definitely, definitely a boner, I guess you could say, you know.
Yeah.
But
this
we
is the
have
person who, when our volunteers showed up at a city commission meeting in Plantation, the mayor actually told them that they weren't allowed to wear my campaign shirts into the city commission meeting, which is of course ridiculous. It wasn't an electioneering polling location. It was just a city commission meeting. And I just always, like, in my mind, I think that's a little fascist right there. So that's not the kind of people. And now I live in Plantation. So now this actually really matters to me.
Yeah, there's no question that this is going to be
Yeah,
a really big fight, because I think, you know, just in the experience that we've had over the past several months, I think you can get the sense that there is sort of a feeling in the air that there's people who have a desire to have a changing of the guard, or at least in terms of just, you know, business as usual, which is not something that people want anymore. So
yeah.
I definitely think, and
we've seen a couple of establishment people basically see the backhand of the establishment. Basically, that's sort of the problem, is that people that were ins that are now outs, they now recognize that maybe that's not such a good system, and so our coalition of outs is growing significantly. I feel like the ins are just constantly alienating more and more people.
Yeah, it's
here.
only as good. You're only as good as your as your usefulness, if you will, as it is perceived by the establishment. I mean, that to me is really, that's everything.
I did get my text from the state party wanting me to sign up for calling or canvassing or something.
Oh, well, are you going to do that?
No,
Oh,
I'm
come
going to
on.
pass on that. The only party candidate that I am pushing, Manchin and parliamentarian for 24. Okay, guys, that's the only position I'm taking on that for them. This is I am supporting Manchin, the parliamentarian, for 24. It's never too early to get right on that. These are the two most powerful people in the party. Therefore, that is who we should be supporting for president.
Well, I'm not going to keep Michael waiting for too long. Hopefully Ryan does respond.
I hope so, since we're so early.
Yeah, well, you know, we said we adjusted it for
I
Ryan,
know.
so, you know, hopefully he's not eating dinner right now. But no, I definitely sent him the goods, and, you know, he made sure to confirm. And, you know, what are you going to do?
Right,
I mean, I guess I could send him another email.
No, you can't do anything. That's what happens sometimes.
Yes, well, if something came up, I would like to think that he would say something, but you never know.
What, things happen. So you're introduced what the situation was that led to you deciding that we needed to discuss this again.
Well, unfortunately, we all know too often that on social media, a lot of times people will get into these conversations or arguments, if you will, that are, let's just say, contentious. And so Michael has been very much as a forefront advocate regarding nuclear in California, as probably anybody has been. He understands the circumstances regarding the environmental catastrophes that are happening everywhere. But there's also something to be said for where we stand currently regarding the ability to just transition to a clean energy grid. We are nowhere near where we would need to be in order to do that and just cut off fossil fuels. However, there are people who are in California who are very adverse to the idea that we could potentially have nuclear. And that, to me, I think speaks to, on the one hand, the concerns that do exist for nuclear, but also on the other hand, the naivety to not even acknowledge the realities of where we do currently stand from an energy perspective. Because right now, people in California are getting absolutely thwarted regarding the costs and the ability to, just simply be able to travel and do the things that they need to do. So I think at this moment in time, look, hopefully Ryan will show up, but I think it would only serve us well to bring on Michael again so we can continue this conversation. Because again, I think it's extremely important. And I think anyone who again, it's like people in politics who think, oh, you can't talk to people on the other side, or you can't talk to somebody who does this. Why don't you cut off both legs while you're at it?
We're all going to be underwater together.
We're going to literally be sitting underwater and people are going to be arguing
Honestly,
about who can talk to who.
There are going to be two types
Joe,
of people that are and are not scuba certified. That's all I'm saying. Like we have to stop fighting.
He is a former gubernatorial candidate as an independent in California, and he is somebody who is a very strong advocate for nuclear power and is also an advocate for transitioning away from fossil fuels. So let's not confuse ourselves in terms of whether or not he is doing that or not. He certainly is. Michael Shellenberger, welcome back to Generational Change.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Hey, absolutely.
Absolutely. How's everything on your end?
It's going great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. You know, obviously we're hoping that Ryan will show up. We're just waiting. Very, very interesting. So now he's, I literally just got a message from him. Let me answer him real quick because he's saying he could come on in 45 minutes.
No, we're going to have this conversation right now.
We are, but you know, I think it's important. No, it's important that Ryan is here.
Yeah.
I think
okay. I wasn't privy to this little online interaction, Michael. I don't.
I'm also happy to come back in 45 minutes if that's what I mean. I can do it in 45 minutes.
Yeah, there are a number of things that we can talk about in the interim. So I'm going to confirm with him right now, and let me just make sure. But I think even before you go, while you're here, I think it is important just to clear up because there is this perception that has basically been put out there about you that because you embrace nuclear energy, that you somehow are against clean energy. Like that is a myth that I think is very important to dispel. You've been on our podcast before. You've put yourself out there many a times regarding what we need to do in order to transition properly. And you believe nuclear is part of that, but you're not adverse to using things like solar, wind, geothermal, and whatnot. Could you just clarify that real quick for everybody?
Well, it seems like we're gonna have a chance to get into it with Ryan, right? So
okay, yeah.
I'll just put not a problem. I'll pop back in. Does he say let's do it at 7 p.m. Eastern or?
You know what? Let's shoot. He's saying 6. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll say 6.
That's fine.
Say 6:50, and we'll call it.
Yeah.
We'll call it square.
So silly.
I'll see you guys. I'll jump back in.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.
Bye, brother.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Well, this is what happens. This is what happens when you work with, when you get big name people that have family priorities and such stuff.
Yeah,
it happens. So we'll get Michael and Ryan Grimm on at the same time shortly. And I'm sure, what is it you want to chit chat about? Can we talk about Al Franken? Because way to go, Al. First of all, he never should have been out of his seat. I'm sorry. I never agreed with that.
Aren't you happier with Amy Klobuchar being in the U.S. Senate?
I know
I am.
I always thought that the thing with Al Franken was ridiculous. And now, especially in light of things like Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, I think we can all safely agree that Al Franken making dirty jokes, even sexually dirty jokes, he's a comedian. Like that is just so not. It was jokes. He was making. It wasn't. He didn't do anything, right?
Listen, there's a lot of things about Al Franken that I don't like. I think that I think he tries to portray himself as being a progressive and an outsider. In reality, he's a more moderate company man. And now, does he generally vote favorably on policy? Yes, he's not. He
doesn't anymore.
He's not a bad. He was not a bad politician.
No, we were infinitely better off. He was not. 100%. He was not a net negative. He was not the problem.
No, if anything, I would say he was a net positive. Now, of course, he did not come out for Bernie. He actually was very much in Hillary's camp for the most part. He tried to tepidly suggest that he was being neutral about it. But the truth is, if you're not actually standing up for a fair and open primary, which of course we didn't have in 2016, he shot a lot of his political capital away because people looked at him as somebody who truly cared about the people. And I'm not saying that
I still like him, and I still don't think that the whole hoopla was worth him giving up his seat. Like that to me was always ridiculous. But
no, I think he definitely, and listen, maybe that's the real difference between the left and the right, is that the left does tend often to cave to the mob.
They care about feelings.
Yeah,
and
I don't care about that. Do go along with that, which they more or less think is, okay, well, this is what I'm going to use more or less to define myself, is I'm going to step away because it's the right thing to do. But don't think for a second, ladies and gentlemen, that despite everything that has happened regarding women speaking up for the things that they've gone through over the years, the mistreatment that they have had to deal with, I don't doubt for 1 second that a lot of that almost overwhelmingly is true. But don't think for a second that there were not opportunistic people who saw the opportunity to kneecap some people so they could get ahead.
Right. So, okay. But the point I was making was that if you guys haven't seen it, Al Franken was on CNN. So are you going to, I mean, I feel like if you play it, that it's just so friggin' funny.
Yeah.
But he was on CNN to, I don't know, some blonde drone. I don't know who is that.
I think her name is Alice Stewart, and that is the that is the person who is on there. Just like you said, just a Republican drone who came on.
Because CNN now is going to the right, apparently, because that was what we needed. So they apparently have this person who thinks that there's two sides to this story. And this is really great. I got to say, like, this is definitely a good, you guys got to appreciate this. If you haven't seen it.
If anybody, and again, we are not one to really, we're not going to laud CNN for anything.
No.
And we sure as heck don't want to have anything to do with Jim Acosta. But this was a great segment, and it was a great segment, and it is a great segment purely because Al Franken never took his foot off the gas pedal.
No,
he just kept going,
great.
And he basically made a person. And very often, and you don't often see this, where they will allow for a banter to go back and forth. But Al basically pushed her so far to the corner that she didn't know how to talk.
Okay, so as a preface to this, what they are talking about was a statement that Kamala Harris made, saying that there is this sort of appearance of a delegitimization of the court. Okay, Kamala Harris was basically saying that, and they are going to argue about what was the actual cause. And then Justice Roberts said that she just says that because she doesn't like the opinion. And no, that's not why the court's delegitimate. And Al Franken is going to tell us why this court is not legitimate.
The legitimacy of the court was undermined when they wouldn't take up Merrick Garland. And you'll remember that McConnell said it was because it was during an election year. And you remember Lindsey Graham pledging that if a vacancy came open during an election year in 20, that he wouldn't vote for, they wouldn't take up a nominee. They've stolen 2 seats. The one that Merrick Garland wasn't given a hearing for, and the one that Coney Barrett was where she was seated a week before the election. That destroyed the legitimacy of the court.
Alice, what do you think? Did Chief Justice Roberts sort of, I mean, he sort of ignored some of what Al is talking about there, and that there is, I mean, a tremendous amount of controversy as to how this court got tilted in the direction of the far right.
Just to throw a little accuracy in some of what Al said there. Look, the Merrick Garland was held up because we had a divided government. We had a Democrat in the White House, and we had Republicans in control of.
That's not what was said. That's not what McConnell said.
But that's the way historically this has been. When you're in close to an election year and you have divided government.
That's not the way it's been historically done.
Yes, and when you have divided government, there typically is an inclination to.
Tell me when this happened before.
When you're Merrick Garland is certainly one. When there's a divided government,
no, before Merrick Garland,
they're not moving forward.
Tell me when this happened before.
Al, I'm telling you, this is what the Mitch.
Tell me when it happened before.
I can't.
You said this is what happened historically. Tell me when it happened before.
Look, this is the way that the Republicans went. Like, I can't give you an exact example of when this happened in the past.
You know why you can't? Because it hadn't happened before.
Look, the basis for not appointing him was because of that specific reason. But moving forward.
No, it wasn't. And McConnell explicitly said that it was the, quote, Biden rule. And he quoted a little piece of a speech that Biden had given in June of '80. And Biden said they wouldn't take up if they weren't consulted. And this was about someone resigning in June after a term of the court, which is very different than someone dying. Scalia died in February. And you saw, you guys, if you can find the tape, you can find Lindsey Graham saying, keep the tape. We will not take up a judge if someone dies, a nominee, if someone dies in an election year in the next election. This is total hypocrisy. And you actually, I'm surprised that you're claiming this and you can't come up with an example because there is none.
To get back to the point of the conversation here.
No,
Kamala Harris,
this is the point.
No, look, I'm not.
And we're back.
Yeah, this is really, again, you have to box people into a corner. You know, that to me is an example of a person who just doesn't know what to say. And that very often is what non-corporate candidates and progressives need to do when they're dealing with somebody who's corporate, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Just basically box them into a corner. Don't be friendly. You know, don't be like the senator from Vermont who say, Miss Senator Graham, do you understand?
No, he
what
let
you're
her
saying?"
have it. He kept cutting her off because she was just completely making things up. It's just not true. It never happened until it happened with Merrick Garland. That was the first time it happened. And yeah, that was a stolen seat. And, you know, it wasn't like Obama and the Democrats really put up a fight either. So, you know, that
and
was
this is going to be,
like,
in a lot of ways, it's going to be McConnell's legacy, because this is what Mitch McConnell's been fighting for since, you know,
forever.
He's been in the U.S. Senate. And, you know, again, when you look at somebody like Mitch McConnell, when you look at somebody who looks like him, who talks like him, who acts like him, a person who probably has a lot of resentment towards the world, if he figured out a way how to screw over a large portion of society, especially women, he was going to do it. And why not?
You know, you never responded to the text I sent you the other day. So guys, let me know what you think. Lindsey Graham, is he more Elmer Fudd or Porky Pig? I can't quite decide. I can't quite decide. I was just watching him talk the other day, and I was like looking at those kids, and I'm like, it's either Elmer or Porky.
If I had to decide whether I was Elmer Fudd or Porky Pig, I was definitely more of a Porky, because I am from South Carolina and I like my pork. So I would say Porky Pig is much more likely for Lindsey Graham.
But I decided that I was going to destroy the country through the courts.
You really do make him sound like the emperor.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean,
The
this
dark emperor.
is all the legacy of McConnell, and you know, they decided that we're going to control the courts. That's what they decided.
But to say that the reason that Kamala was to say that the reason people are questioning its legitimacy isn't because we don't agree with the opinion. And it isn't because it's necessarily a bad opinion, because the truth is, again, Roe v. Wade had issues, and, you know, you could make constitutional arguments, but let's be clear, this is not that. And you know what's always so interesting is the amount of people that say, well, you just want to leave it up to the states. Well, we're going to see where you all fall when they want to put in a federal ban. We're going to see where you all stand on. Let the states decide that when they want to put in a federal ban. So if it's not the federal government's purview.
So you think there's going to be a situation where the Supreme Court is going to try to circumvent the state rulings of being able to have a woman's right to choose?
No, I think that people like Mitch McConnell and pushing through legislation that will essentially be a federal abortion ban. You don't need to, it's like they can put through that legislation. And while it may or may not be constitutional, by the time it does or does not get figured out, a lot of people could be really hurt in the process. And then again, you have a stacked court that would likely find that perfectly fine.
Well, then the question becomes, if the
They always say they want to leave it to the states.
Yeah, but right now the Republicans do not look like they're going to take over the Senate. And so if McConnell doesn't get back into power, obviously that would be a great thing. But let's just say hypothetically that he does. Could you see a circumstance where McConnell would actually suspend the filibuster in order to get through a piece of legislation like this?
Yes. That's the thing about specifically what we're talking about, where you see people like saying that, oh, well, it was okay to do it when it worked for us. And now this is the rules. And they use the rules when they're convenient. Let's be real. This is ridiculous. So it worked for, they held off on Merrick Garland, but they were able to shove through Amy Coney Island like overnight. And it's the same thing. So it's when it works for them. And the Democrats just sit there with their thumbs up the asses and go, duh, the parliamentarian. I don't know. So they don't really do anything about it.
So again, like I said, I think all of it just gets back to corporate special interests. That is exactly what they are fighting on behalf of. And again, normally I would say that it would be status quo as always, but when you allow the Christian right to have as much say in our daily lives as the conservative side of politics is allowed, and again, it's all about winning elections, but now it's like margin calls. Okay, was the intention always to do this? And is it really just a question of how powerful the evangelical lobby really is in the United States?
Well, depending on which sort of long-term campaign you're talking about, they go back as far as like to right after the New Deal. And then you have like the sort of Nixon after that, where really having the for-profit insurance and also getting going anti-cannabis. So then you've got that whole thing going there. But the entire like concept of the right to take over the courts, that's been happening for decades now. It's been happening for a really long time. And unfortunately, the Mick resistance of the Democrats has not really done anything to stop it. That's the problem. They've kind of like rolled over and played dead, right? Like Obama with Merrick Garland.
Yeah,
Just rolled over and
but
played
don't
dead.
worry, Obama was invited to the Breakfast Club at Harvard University to dine in with the men's basketball boosters and stuff like that.
Well, he did go there.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's important stuff. You know, it's gossip, but it's important. You know, because that's what really drives us, just knowing exactly what.
It's not good.
No,
it's not good.
It's not.
So,
former President Trump was in Washington, D.C., and apparently the reason they believe he was in Washington, D.C. is that he might have a serious health problem. Well, you know,
is it called lawsuititis?
No, apparently he really may have a health problem. And maybe this is his way out.
Well, that is his only way out, is death. I mean, at some point you sort of got to pay the piper. And I don't think that
I'm totally not paying anything.
I don't know what the investigation is about, whether or not it's related to January 6th, whether or not it's related to the fraudulent stuff, like why they're, you know, with Steve Bannon, and I don't know what's going on with that. But regardless, it's just, yeah.
I think that their biggest fear is that Trump knows so many secrets and he can reveal them at any time. Just basically blurt it out. You know,
that's how you get Arkancided.
Yeah, but you know what?
Although the queen is gone, so you can't get off with your headed.
But what is also true is that he may, you know, again, it's like the whole thing about hiding these documents that they had to get back. You know, it's possible he may have untold amounts of documents that knows all the dirty little secrets about this country and every little thing that we've been involved in for so long.
Did anyone ever think that maybe Epstein's just on his island?
They didn't bother to check.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Has anybody checked Epstein's island?
Nah.
Just saying.
Trump might have to leave the U.S.
Well, and that would be an option for him. That's probably a place that has no extradition.
Well, that is... yeah, but I don't know if he could ever be away. I mean, he's just kind of one of those guys that you could see like being walled up in his compound and he would never want to leave the country kind of situation. They're going to literally have to drag him out. But again... I think that there's really something to be said for this idea that he's cultivated so much support from so many people who just are so tired of the status quo. They're so tired of the establishment. And he holds so many cards in his hand in terms of what he would want to do with that information if he ever wanted to reveal it to the American people. I mean, to me, I think that's a big thing. I do. I
think that the whole thing is insane. Like, we're sitting here and talking about somebody who was impeached twice, who's had thousands of lawsuits against him. Thousands.
It's just a witch hunt.
And he, honestly, if it was just like the big name people coming after him, I would almost go for that. I'd believe that. But when he's screwing over like contractors and subcontractors and like these small mom and pop businesses in New Jersey that were working on his casino, and he didn't pay the painters, and he has ruined people's lives from not paying them for big contracts. There are people that had to file bankruptcy and go out of business. Like, he's ruined people's life. And I don't mean like big other plutocrat people. That would be fun to watch. But like, like regular people. And he's disgusting. He is the most dishonorable person in business. And so the idea that people, I don't even care about all the other stuff that they're talking about. He's disgusting. He's a disgusting person. So, yeah, I think that,
Which is unfortunate because you're also looking at it from the perspective of a lot of people look at Trump as somebody who, is a savior or is going to help them. And, he knows exactly what to say. He knows exactly what buttons to push.
Probably another 20 minutes, Mal. Ryan was running late, so Michael was on, and he's going to come back so we can do it. That's what we're doing.
So, yeah. So I think what we can talk about is what happened yesterday.
What happened yesterday?
Yesterday was a great, well, actually.
Are you going to your sports games?
Well, the whole weekend was really great. My alma mater, Rutgers University, is 2-0 in college football. We crushed Wagner. Of course, that was to be expected, but we crushed them by like 60 points. So we're
not going to become a sports show. Like, we're not going to have the weekly sports roundup.
Oh, no, we definitely are. If I have anything to say about it, anyway. By the way, I may be making like a sub channel to the channel, doing like real estate talk.
Well, you could do that on this channel and have another show.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what
you
I'm saying.
could use this channel and have a show, but you want to have sports talk on Gen Change?
Yeah, but yesterday was a really great day for any of you sports fans out there. I am a New York Giants fan. Jen is a Miami Dolphins fan. It was a great day for both of our respective franchises.
I don't even know who our coach or quarterback are. No idea.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay.
You don't know that?
No.
I forgot your coach's name. He's a new guy.
Yeah. That we've had as many coaches in as many years. We've had, I think, 15 coaches, and so it's absurd. And then people wonder why we can't win. You cannot win with coach turnover like that. That cannot happen. It takes a while to build a team. There's a reason that the best coaches have teams for long periods of time. You build a team. You can't have constant turnover and have any sort of progress.
So Carlos Alcatraz, what a last name, won his first Grand Slam at the U.S. Open yesterday. That's very interesting to know. I honestly can't say that I watch tennis.
I was going to say, is that tennis or golf?
Yeah, I can't watch. It's not that I don't watch or I wouldn't watch tennis.
I'm surprised you're not watching the pickleball that's on. I get picked. There's like pickleball
tournament?
Well, with the amount of channels there are now, yes. If you go deep into the sports channels, Mallory, you could be watching like pickleball. There's like serious championship pickleball happening on there.
Okay, so I got a message from Ryan saying that he'll get with us in like 10 minutes and will let us know what the deal is.
This is what happens when you deal with like bigger name people. It's the people that have less
stuff. No,
the people that have less stuff.
No, it has nothing to do with that at all. So don't say
no,
that.
It's okay. No, and I like Ryan. He's never done that. He's very good to us.
He would not do that at all.
No, he's a good
Somebody
guy.
else would, won't name any names, but yeah, there are people out there that'll do that.
I know. It's a turnoff.
Or as one person once said, "You're not big enough for me." Come on.
No. He said, I'm not going to give this person credence, but he said that he thinks it would be irresponsible of him to come on our show in lieu of a bigger platform, even though you could schedule us around that, but whatever. And that it would be irresponsible of him because his message is far too great and mighty for our little channel. So he never came on. And you know what? I'm glad I didn't read the book. Because you know what, I'm kind of annoyed that I even downloaded it, but I downloaded it. But then this all happened. So,
well, the good news is we are going to be getting our first business sponsor.
Okay,
got a confirmation. As a matter of fact, that's something we could discuss right now before we find out the inevitable as to whether or not we're actually going to even have a show tonight, which hopefully will be the case, but you never know. All right. So let's see.
As you guys know, we have a Patreon and we definitely could use subscribers. It's what helps the most. And, the stuff from like super chats and from the ads on Google is just really insignificant in terms of like, they take so much of that, but, and we're also not big enough where that helps us.
Okay. So we are going to get our first official business sponsorship of the show. And what we will do is we will every show acknowledge that sans sponsorship, and it's $50 a month. And you will get a plug every show. Yeah. We will even put up your website so people can go there, check you out, find out exactly what you're all about. And we will also make sure that any of our sponsors will not have to be worrying about whether they are going to have crossover issues. You will have a specific category, whatever your business is. you will not have to worry about any particular competition.
No, and and we're like, especially with like our small local friends, we're kind of going to be a first come first serve situation.
Yeah. So if you care enough to sponsor our little podcast,
and we do a lot to promote small business, but so guys, there is now on our Patreon, there is a $50 small business sponsor tier. And that's what Peter's talking about. So feel free to do that. And and we're going to help simultaneously promote small business and raise a few bucks.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that our small business guest has decided that she can't make it this evening.
But we are going to start having small business people coming on, and we're going to talk about bigger issues. We're not just going to come on and just talk about their business.
What are the biggest issues that are facing a small business owner regarding taxes, regarding growth? A lot of things that people don't really understand. If you're not a small business owner, it's a little bit more difficult to understand.
It's very difficult. So we're going to talk about issues with them. We're not just going to, have people on to say, hey, come to my business. But we're going to start doing that, similar to how we talk about labor. It's sort of in the same vein. Like we used to call it the uplifting labor. I used to be much more into my little logos and stuff than I am now. We used to have so many more graphic things. I haven't been as into it lately, but so we're going to be having that. So if anybody who is local, if you have a small business and you want us to promote you, be a $50 a month patron sponsor, and you will get promoted from us.
Please email generationalchange@gmail.com if you have questions.
Yeah, of course.
So if you are not currently a patron, we would recommend you go to patreon.com/generational change for as little as $5 a month, like the Subway commercial, $5 foot long. You can become a supporter of our channel, and we are transforming politics into service. What are we doing on Saturday, Jen?
So Saturday we are hosting.
Sponsoring.
Well, sponsoring, but we say hosting.
Yes.
Sponsoring a meet and greet. And this is for mayoral candidate for Plantation. This is for Nick Sortel. And we're going to be hosting this at Jacaranda Italian restaurant. We have to take the thing off. Guys, it's a Jacaranda Italian restaurant. It's a very strange name for like a local pizza place, but it's on Broward Boulevard. It is just east of Pine Island. So
Jacaranda is a very popular community.
Yeah, well, it's a tree.
Oh, well, what do I know?
I've taught you this before. You just
Jacaranda is a tree.
Jacaranda is a tree. So it doesn't matter. So this on Saturday, guys, from 1 to 3, come and meet Nick. We really want some help, people volunteering to help us canvass. We have an opportunity in a local race to make a real difference. When you're talking about canvassing just for a city council or a mayoral race, you are not talking about that much ground to cover. I mean, like for us, this is almost like just like a weekend. It's a small size. You have an opportunity to make a big difference, and we have an opportunity here. And for anybody who would be or want to be supportive of me running again, this is part of that equation for us. So if you think of it as like a chess game, this is the best thing for us to do right now as far as our local political scene. So come out, support on Saturday if you can, and there will be a lot of pizza.
Yes.
And if you don't come, then I'm going to have to go home with a lot of pizza.
Yeah, well, isn't that generally what ends up happening? But and Mal, you better be there. I sent you the message.
Mallory.
And the same goes for anybody else who happens to be in Plantation. I think Teresa might come. We'll see. Maybe she'll bring Kevin.
I've sent out to all my Pilates ladies too.
They all Plantation people?
Well, a lot, because that's where we are now. I mean, that's where the studio is. So.
Yes, it'll be from 1 to 3 p.m. Those are the hours that we will be there.
But come out. I also invited Robert Milby. And he actually is volunteering somewhere that day, but he said to definitely keep him in the loop. He definitely wants to meet us. And if people don't know, Robert Milby was Debbie Wasserman Schultz's challenger in the August primary. And he had reached out to me. Nice enough guy. Haven't met him face to face yet. But we're building a very big coalition of people. The bigger, the better. And the more, it's the same thing as the people that are getting sort of shut out from the establishment that are looking at it now being like, it's not so good to me, including people like Nick, people like Barbara Sharif, who are realizing that, this isn't so good. And I think it's like a sign of a changing tide.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
I would
think.
Also say, it is a changing tide, but there's also the possibility that a friend who we will not mention may be running for a big office again.
Correct.
Locally. because that person is really fed up with what the establishment has done. And that's kind of how it happens. You know, sometimes when you end up making a stand, even if it doesn't end up being successful the first time around, it ends up inspiring a lot of other people, because eventually they catch on to what's really going on, which is, yeah, you know, we keep hearing that we're never able to get anything done. We're never able to be successful, whether it's locally in Tallahassee and Capitol Hill. And then eventually enough people start to wake up and realize, oh, yeah, it's done on purpose.
Well, and I also think that the more people that catch on to this, that connect with each other, makes it what's possible. Like, so for example, last election season, I wasn't friendly with Nick. Like, I mean, I knew him, he was a nice guy, but I wouldn't have necessarily like said, oh, I'm going to campaign for you. But then things like, you get to know people, you get to know the political environment, you get to know who's who. And there's just certain people that really sit to serve themselves and sit at the pleasure of people like Debbie. And those are the kinds of people that are in power positions that we would rather not have. And so one of those said people is the mayor right now of Plantation. So yeah. And the other two people I'd like to say that we're supporting this season are Ruth Carter Lynch and Rod Velez, both for school board. So I think those are our three main local races, right? Stephen Julian, but I think his is like, I mean, he's got so much support behind him. And
interestingly enough, all the races that we are supporting are nonpartisan races, which is how most people kind of would like to have politics. Less about the party and more about the policy.
So in any event, that is where some of the Gen Core money goes. It goes towards non-corporate candidates for races, and it goes towards community service. It goes to those things.
Yeah.
We don't give to partisan candidates unless they are completely non-corporate. So that's really our barometer.
I'd say that that's a pretty good barometer.
Yeah.
And more people should obviously follow that. No, don't worry about it, Paul.
We're running late. We're running late,
Well,
Paul.
we're not running late.
No, we're not running late. We've been here the whole time. We came early. Ryan Grimm is held up with doing some family stuff. He should be with us shortly. Michael Shellenberger was on. He's coming back so we can get this going. Apparently there was like a tiff.
So it's not going to happen. He's bailing, and we're going to have to reschedule.
There you go. You're watching it live time.
When should we try, I guess, is the question.
I don't know.
But we can't do Wednesday.
We went so early because of him.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that happens.
So sorry to disappoint, guys. This is what happens sometimes. But Ryan Grimm had to just cancel. Yeah. He's got something going on. But look, we can have a really good discussion with Michael. Or do you want to reschedule the whole thing?
I think Michael really wants to come on and talk to Ryan.
Okay.
That's
okay.
his main.
Well, because he knows that I did about these things. So basically, we will at some point be having is it a debate? I guess it's a debate.
Yeah.
So apparently there was an interaction online between Michael Shellenberger and Ryan Grimm regarding use of nuclear, right? It's always about nuclear. And, we want to hash that out.
We're friendly with Ryan. Let's give him his just due. I understand he's not everybody's
Mallory,
cup of tea.
he actually gave me coverage when I was running. Yeah. He was one of the bigger name people that went out of his way to give me coverage. Yeah. So and he's been on our show, and he hasn't big leagued us before. So he's got something going on. And he has also had me on Rising a couple of times as well. So Ryan he's a friend.
Yeah. You're not going to get
in a professional sense, not personally, but yeah.
Yeah. And that's what you need.
Yeah. When I say he's a friend, I mean, of the business.
Well, again, it's like with Tim Pool. It's,
right.
Or they think that they're too good, I guess you would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? And as I'm always saying, my message never changes. I'll go on any platform with the message. I don't care. I just don't read the comments because they're usually range from calling me like communist Karen, commie Karen, whatever, which is interesting to me. But we've got some really good shows coming up, and I'm actually working on putting together something that I'm calling Deconstructing Zionism. And it's going to be a pretty big thing. I'm going to gather as many good voices on that as I can. So what do you want to, I think you're going to tell him. No?
Well, we didn't even get a chance to. Michael, if you're hearing this, Ryan has bailed. Now, maybe he's just afraid to debate you. I highly doubt that.
I
that's
don't
the
think
case.
so.
But we're going to try to get this thing rescheduled as soon as possible. We already sent him a message, going to see about possibly doing something. If you're able, and again, Michael's on West Coast time. So
Yes.
this is something that Ryan also has to understand in terms of his flexibility and making it as convenient as possible. But if you are, we've done afternoon podcasts before, and I'm wondering, if we were to do something at like noon, like would you be, if you can nod your head yes or no, if you're able to do what would be like 9 a.m. your time, which would be noon or even 1 p.m. Too early?
Too early.
All right. Here's what we'll do.
We're gonna have to figure it out.
We're gonna have to figure this out because Ryan owes you one, and we're gonna get this thing figured out as soon as possible. Hopefully this week, and definitely get it. So
And
that
we'll do
time-wise-
it even if
Yeah.
it's not our show time.
Oh,
Yeah,
I could
like
do
whenever.
as early as 7 a.m. Pacific. He's got I'm not going to say specifically, but it's a family thing. It's not business or he didn't want to come on or anything like that.
Okay.
Legitimately, like his wife is sick. So I'm not going to.
He's got young kids and his wife is sick. That's what it sounds
Yeah.
like.
So ultimately, I think if you can do early, I'm going to message him, and would either Tuesday or Thursday potentially work for you schedule wise? Is either day preferential as far
yeah,
as
we
your
can work
schedule
this
goes?
out. So
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say, you're talking about the topic exploration regarding Mallory. I know you want to talk about the nuclear thing. That's what we're trying to figure out right now.
Mhm.
Michael's in the virtual green room.
Yeah.
And we're gonna schedule it.
Okay.
We'll have something.
You got it.
Yeah, and we'll schedule.
Sorry
it this
about that,
week.
Mike.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that happens, and it's hard to coordinate people. But so I am working on doing it's going to be more than one discussion. I want to do it similar how we've covered Julian Assange, and we've done healthcare, where we've done it through, like with several different panels. And the overall topic is going to be deconstructing Zionism.
Yeah.
And one of the panels is very specifically going to be addressing AIPAC. And it's basically going to be, what I'm trying to configure is a group of what I'm going to call Jews against AIPAC. But you could also throw the MFI in there too. I mean, it doesn't need to be AIPAC specific, but
I
just in
appreciate
general.
the fact that Michael is very understanding. And
Yeah.
ironically, of all the times that I'm getting a message now from Ryan saying Wednesday evening is free. Well, Wednesday evening is already a stacked deck of a podcast like you guys can't imagine. So here's how it's going down on Wednesday.
Okay.
Right now, we're scheduled to start at 8 p.m. Our first guest is going to be none other than Tom Hartman of the Tom Hartman program.
And it is a new book, and I am listening to it right now. And it's a hidden history book in his hidden history series. And it's the hidden history of neoliberalism in America, which really piggybacks off of the book that we did with Left Behind with Lily Geismer. It's very similar concept anyway.
Perfect.
So Tom Hartman, 8 o'clock Wednesday.
At 9 p.m., we are having on our good friend Max Alvarez, who's also coming on with a couple members directly involved with the railroad strike.
Nice.
So since the railroad strike is supposed to commence on Friday, we obviously have to have this conversation in advance, and that'll be at 9 p.m. And now I'm getting a message from Ryan who says that Wednesday evening is free. I don't know how we could possibly do like a 3-hour thon or something like that, unless you think that's overkill.
Look, I've done longer. I mean, how long did we do? I mean, the Assange thing was probably like 5 hours. So, I mean, like I've gone longer than that. But
We'll see.
So we'll see what we can figure out, guys. And if it turns out to be part of our Wednesday show, it's part of
Well,
our
I
Wednesday
think we
show.
definitely have enough leverage right now with Ryan, where basically, like, if we say it's got to be at this time, he'll probably be like, all right, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to talk to Max Alvarez. For anybody who doesn't know,
Yes.
Max is with The Real News, and it is actually the real news. It's
It
really
is.
good. So I like that we're going to be having on the why am I having like a total brain fart? The railroad workers, because I was thinking how we were talking about the Teamsters with UPS. That is coming up, guys. UPS is very looking at a serious strike, and it will be like shattering for our business to have a UPS shutdown. For the business of our economy, it will absolutely 100% affect everything.
And just remember, ladies and gentlemen, and we
Everything.
all know the media is never.
And I'm thinking good.
The corporate media is never going to tell you about this. What a surprise. And you'll hear it from Max and the rest when they come on Wednesday. It's going to be a mini panel. Might be 3 or 4 people.
Can you
total.
imagine if we had a railroad strike and a UPS strike simultaneously?
Oh, that would be amazing.
That's as close to a general strike situation as we're like.
Well, a lot
that
of
would
you know
be
what? Other
huge.
people should be getting on board. Hey, you want to strike up? Strike now. This is the opportunity. You have a complete lame duck president who is just going to try to put like I said, a bunch of Band-Aids on a gaping wound, never actually systemically dealing with the real problem. And let's not forget, the only reason we are this close to an actual legitimate massive strike in this country is because the president is on the side of management, not labor. So let's not forget that. That's the only reason we're this close.
But it is nice also, we did have a win. The court did uphold the Amazon labor union vote that I forget which district it is. It's got to be, is it Southern District in New York? But I don't know. It's in New York. But whatever the court was, because Amazon, of course, appealed the election. Amazon, Dr. Evil appealed it and the court shot them down. So that was very pleasing. So we're having a very good union week so far. It's good. Honestly, if the railroad and the UPS workers all strike at the same time, that would be amazing. And apparently the Teamsters are sitting on a $300 million strike fund. So they have the means for the UPS workers to strike. And that's what makes them so dangerous. And somebody was saying something, anybody, Bo, the fifth column, I love when he talks about this. He's so smart. But here's the thing. The reason that the UPS drivers are paid as well as they are is because they have a good union. That's why. That's the point. So people are like, I don't know why they're complaining when they're the highest paid. Yeah, the reason they're the highest paid is because they have good union representation. And what they want isn't even money. They want air conditioning. That's the main thing, is air conditioning. I mean, there might also be money, but air conditioning.
But again, it goes to show the scorn that people have for labor in this country is amazing. Amazing. And these aren't even people that are sitting in that lofty a position in society anyway. But there really is something to be said for people who feel the need to look down on others. And that's a very common thing in our culture. It really is.
I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this. We're having it's happening.
Wednesday is going to be the main event.
Wednesday will be a big thing. So sorry
we didn't get here for that event.
To our nuclear discussion this evening. I'm sorry, Mal, but it will happen. If not Wednesday, we'll figure out a time. And if you want to do it Wednesday, I'll do it Wednesday. But you're going to have to start. We'll have to start at 7.
Or potentially what we could do on Wednesday, and I will talk to Ryan about this, is maybe it might make sense to do something in the afternoon if that's what will work for his schedule, and then come back later on.
We have the pantry.
Oh, right.
And it's in West Hollywood. So I'm just, guys, the mobile school pantry is back. So it's usually Peter goes, and sometimes I'm there. It just depends. But it's back to its regular distributions inside cafeterias at the elementary school. So it is no longer outdoors, which is...
Don't have to suffer.
It was brutal.
And even if
it was brutal when we were outside. But you know what?
It wouldn't matter as much if this distribution was taking place in October, November, when the weather gets a lot more reasonable. Thanks, Jordan. You're stealing all our thunder.
I don't even know. Is it Jordan or that other? There's another
Jordan.
Guy, because there's a guy who was doing something that was live on Status Quo. It was that guy who Jordan has. I forget his name. It wasn't Jordan. Well, he might have been there at some point. No, it wasn't Colin. It's the new reporter guy that he has.
Well, anyway, so you got Tina and Ron Pacone, who have a nice little thing going. Jordan obviously is writing his book, and he's not like we can take off. Well, hey, listen, I've told you to just tell me what you need.
It doesn't work that way. What I need is collaboration. I don't want to be in charge of it. I want to collaborate. That's why I keep trying to engage you with it. I don't want to know right now. We'll talk about this after. Oh, no. Yeah.
That's too done our.
That's not cool. No.
Yeah, I would agree.
No, that's not cool. And it's like, does he not realize that we already were waiting and that Michael was here and that he left and that, does he, we'll figure this out, and it's not now.
It's so rare for him to say, hey, I could come on really late just so that I can make it up to you.
No, I'd rather just do it another time at this point.
I would say that we've definitely, and look, we had our opportunity to wear our fancy jerseys today.
I don't think I've worn this in years.
Well, it's good luck charm. Actually, no, this is bad luck, because as it turns out, we didn't have a real show this evening. We had just us. We had a show, and we had Michael.
We had just us.
Yeah, just Jen.
Just Jen.
Does that sell? I don't know. Well,
I don't know. I mean, it's not like there aren't things that like to talk about and do
No,
stuff,
definitely.
but we're just.
we got a good clip out of it about Al Franken. We'll get a good one. from
Well,
that.
that's how you think of it now, is what we could get good clips.
Yeah, why not? Got a bunch of clips I got to get to you, so got to get working on that. Guys, if you are so inclined to pitch in and you don't want to be a patron, then make sure you get over to Cash App, $Jen Change. And
It's
it doesn't
helpful.
matter what you want to give. You can give anything. And remember, it is to transform politics into service. Like we said, we have our meet and greet coming up for Nick Sorrell from Mayor of Plantation on Saturday. And there were plenty of other events coming up. I'm hopefully going to finally convince the Renewable, which is the composting group in Hollywood, to come to the, I mean, it's literally like 10 minutes away, to come to the West Hollywood Mobile School Pantry distribution on Wednesday. One of the things about all of these fruits and vegetables that our friend Z is able to bring in is that a lot of them, of course, not all of them are organic. Some of them are, and some of them are kind of squishy and can't be eaten.
Right. So some of them would be
rather than that
better
going into the
composted.
garbage. You could probably get, a couple of, containers full.
Yes,
of
that's true.
of food.
Did you talk to Z about that? Because
I
it's
did.
pretty smart.
They haven't been able to connect. I've basically been doing it myself. Like a lot of things.
Like
I
everything.
never get
Peter
credit
always
for.
says that. He has to do everything himself. Peter
Yeah.
does everything. He's a one-man show.
Yeah,
He does everything.
you're just the talent.
I'm just the talent. That's so ironic. I'm not that talented. Speaking of my talent, I am back doing my Wicked Gypsy designs. So that's what I've been working on.
And your
is
event is going to
building
be
up
coming
inventory. I have to get enough inventory together. My application for the art show is like October 15th. And yeah, it's a small plantation art show. But I haven't done a
You
show
move
in a
on to
few
bigger and better
years.
things if it works out.
Well, I haven't done a show
Just
in a few
saying.
years. It's been a while. So, and I'm trying to, bulk up inventory. I'm sitting here looking at so much inventory, but it needs to be smaller inventory. I can't explain it.
Well,
But anyway,
we appreciate you guys. We will get this thing rescheduled very, very quickly. Hopefully by maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday. I don't know, but I think we'll probably have a day off.
we'll
tomorrow.
make it happen.
We'll make it happen. And I'm sure Ryan is very apologetic, as did not want to do it this way. John, unfortunately, Ryan could not make it. We are rescheduling, and we will get this right hopefully within the next couple of days. So appreciate you guys stopping by. Again, sorry for letting anybody down.
Big show Wednesday, guys.
Big show Wednesday. One more time reminder, head of the show, 8 p.m. It will be Tom Hartman leading us off, discussing his book, The Hidden History of Neoliberalism in America. And then at 9 p.m., we will be speaking with Max Alvarez and a handful of the leading organizers for the railroad strike that is coming up on Friday. So you're definitely going to want to be here on Wednesday evening.
Good labor night.
That a lot. And then, of course, we will get this debate rescheduled between Ryan Grimm and Michael Shellenberger.
Yeah, we'll get it set up, guys.
So thank you all. Really appreciate it. Sorry for the inconvenience. We will see you Wednesday.
Bye, all.